your czar of Nar, Dustin, alongside Lucian the weirdo with the beardo. We're still here, and we're back in, honestly, with something that bucket list is going to sound like I'm trying to be a little bit too nice, but this is a band that I've been listening to, and I think we're of a similar age since high school, 2009. Yeah. Right off the top, we have Levi from Miss May I here in the studio with us today, my man. Thank you so much for taking the time, and how are you doing?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having me, guys. Making me feel old.
Oh, please. Nah. You're only as old as you feel. And if you're still able to gig and you're still able to make music, you're not old, man.
I bought a new skateboard not too long ago. Just who knows why, but I went to the skate park, and that made me feel like a dinosaur. So like I said, it's perspective, brother. It's all perspective.
Yeah, I'd be scared to step on a skateboard nowadays. I would feel like I'd shatter into a million pieces. So
I stepped up on the ramp and said, the fuck am I doing, man? Just go home. Just go home.
See, I got smart. I quit when I was in my 20s, and I'm just like, no, I know my limits. I'm old. I'm getting old.
So. I fall on the stairs, and I'm like out for a week now. Like limping around the house, like, oh, I fell.
Yeah, that's great. Tale as old as time, my dude.
No, but you are right, Dustin. Like we've been following you guys for a while. Like it's been a long journey, and you guys have had some crazy twists and turns. And honestly, you've done some stuff I didn't think you were gonna do, and kind of like you keep putting people on their toes. And first off, I just got to say hats off to that, because so many times in music does something just become like you're either beating a dead horse or you change to be something completely new. You know what I mean? But you guys have found this way to stick to your roots and stick to what made you who you initially are, while also kind of expanding on it. So first off, before we get anything, just hats off to that.
Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's cool because it's a conscious effort on our end. So you saying that, it means a lot. So I appreciate it.
Well, and I think it bleeds through. Like you can tell. I can tell that this is important to you guys. And this is like a brand that, for lack of a better term, has kind of become an empire in the last decade. Yeah.
It's crazy to see, like, especially now with this re-release, everyone just like still jamming and staying in like, I don't know, because post-pandemic and us becoming parents, we like forget about the band sometimes because we're at home. And then so it's cool to see the reaction and like your guys' reaction on these interviews and stuff. This is just, I can't say thank you enough. So I appreciate it.
Dude, for sure. Well deserved. I mean, you guys are kicking ass. Apologies are for the week, the re-release. I think that was the coolest idea. Like I'm such a music nerd, and I love when people re-release stuff, give me another chance to experience it with a new twist, be it a remix or a feature, or you can do whatever you want. But I'm even such a big nerd to where I'll be like, I have their demo version, you know what I mean? Like I know what it originally sounded like. So I think that was kind of the coolest thing you guys could be doing right now.
Thank you. And you saying like to do something different, that was our whole that was like our only stipulation was like, if we're going to do this, like, because like you said, around our career, we always have to try to mix things up. And obviously it's backfired and blew up in our face from time to time here and there. But doing this was like, okay, we could re-record it and just put it out. But what else could we do to make it fun? And it was stressing everybody out when we brought up, like, we're going to ask for every single song a feature. And everyone's like, that's impossible. And we ended up sorting it out in like 48 hours. It was just like some text to friends. But
wow. That's honestly like the first question I was going to ask, because, playing shows and having industry friends is obviously always good. And, you meet people while you're stuck on tour with them forever or just in the industry around the same studios. But let's just say it first of all here. So Apologies Are for the Week, if anyone's been living underneath a rock, has been re-recorded for its 15th anniversary edition before you guys go on tour pretty much all of October. And the names, again, not to make you feel old, makes me feel old. No, I'm kidding. But like all the like Carnifex, After the Barrel, Impending Doom, August Burns Red, so on and so on and so on.
The Word Alive. Oh my God. I feel like I was so into that band back.
This was like my college soundtrack, dude. So first of all, I do want to say as well, congrats. This is a great album. And having it come back through I really enjoy how it's been re-recorded, not just with the other people inside of all of them, and hats off to them because their artistic takes, I've enjoyed all of them. I think honestly the After the Burial, Apologies for the Week is one of my favorite tracks that has been like how it's revamped itself. But from the very first track there, The drums hit a little bit harder, and obviously this is 50 production about it, but how was it trying to? Did you really have to change much of like the playing style or the singing style? I'm sure that's a question for some of the musicians as well. But like, was there a lot of change, or did it feel like putting on an old pair of shoes?
It was both. It was when an older part that was sort of like dated, or so. To rewind a little bit, you have to remember when we did this album, we didn't really know what we were doing. So a lot of it was like computer generated, or we were like figuring it out in the studio. Like we never toured. So we were with Joey and we're like, this is what we want it to sound like. And like, if I couldn't do a high scream or couldn't do a low scream because I didn't know what I was doing, we would like try our best and then fuck with it. So it was nice to come back all these years later and be like, oh, I can do this now because I've learned how to do this. So when those came up, we replaced those with like real takes. And then the other thing was, if anything was like dated, we, not even dated, but just like that we could do in our, where we currently are as a band, but still keep the essence of what it was. That's like where we changed up. Cause there's like one of the things, I don't know if a lot of people notice, is like a lot of the choruses I scream with Ryan, which we never really, that's what we do live, but we never had it on that kind of album. Like I said, we never toured, and we didn't know how we were going to play these songs. We were just like a studio band. And then now live, we sing together. So like, that's something we did through the album that makes it a little bit more modern and Miss May I. And, the other thing was there's a lot of like ranges that I haven't really returned to until doing this re-release, and it sort of brought us back to feeling 16 again. Like, we're doing new music now, and because we did this re-recording, it's like unlocked Pandora's box of like, remember when we used to do this crazy shit? Like, let's sprinkle that back in. So,
God, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was it's really cool. We had like an ongoing joke. I've said this in a lot of interviews, but the engineers would be like, because it's a 1-for-1 re-recording, there was a reference track. So we would like do a take and then be like, well, let me hear the original album. And you could listen to the original album and be like, well, let me try something new. And we try it. And if everyone like gave a thumbs up, we'd be like, reimagined, like in the microphone. Everyone's like, it's a reimagined version. So we'd all just be like, do you want to try something a little different, and screw around with it? And I love that you said you love the drums too, because that's the same thing. Like Jared, back then he was playing them, and that was like the biggest thing we were scared of, is because like the speed, not scared, but we were just like, dude, this is fast. Like, and he knocked out of the park. And then with technology and him he knocked out recording like 3 days. So he was banging them out. And I think that really comes across because the new technology and the live takes.
Can I hire him, please?
I feel like he doesn't get enough credit. He's our MVP for sure.
Yeah, if that dude's knocking out 10 songs, 3 days, remastered, re-recorded, that's monster shit. That's legend shit. That's awesome.
He was actually whooping our engineers' asses because he would not break for lunch or anything because he just wanted to get home quick. So he was just like ordering lunch, and like they work until like 2 a.m. and he was just like knocking them out. So
good for him, man. That's the way to go. Don't give him no breaks. You're here on my watch. As well, there's been plenty of albums throughout the years and the years and the years that have been, you take Ride the Lightning and remaster it or something like that. But the fact that you guys re-recorded top to bottom, I thought that was actually pretty interesting. What you said there was that, like, you really had never toured. And granted, yes, it's your first year being a band, so like, or however, like your first real big debut. The fact that you had never toured and was like a studio album, I honestly think that might have been a little bit almost like ahead of its time in a way, because a lot of folks, they just, if you're in high school and you're making a band, you're just gigging as much as you possibly can, and you're making songs, you're playing the same set for years. You guys came out with obviously like a tone setting real album that skyrocketed you guys to where you are now. I mean, I guess what the question is, I'm going to make you search your memory banks for like 15 years. Doing that was a conscious effort, but kind of how did you guys as high schoolers come up with the idea to be able to make the time and the money to do this whole big album and then actually take it out on the road? That seems so mature for that time, I would say. Yeah, so we can't take all the credit. The biggest, the reason we are a band and like our career is it's all thanks to Chris Ruby from Dev Wears Prada. They were from Dayton as well, and we were just a local band. We never sent out mixtapes or toured or like never thought it would be a thing. We just did it in high school. Is like, this is what we do on the weekends. And you guys know, back in the day,
weekend shows were packed, and you could play the same.
yeah.
You could play the same venue every weekend. It didn't matter. People, it was just a hangout. It was like a youth hangout. Like that's what you do. You get your
It's easy to sell tickets in high school when there's 1,000 people wandering around.
Exactly. There's no phones and like no one's zoned out yet, so people were like doing stuff. Yeah, it was. So that was the times, and we just worked our way up locally to where like there was buzz, and we were just headlining on the local shows. And yeah, Prada came in town. We were, and at the time, it's like Prada was like on the first album, so it was like they were in the building, and everyone's like, "Did you hear they're here?" They're like walking around, like, "This is fucking crazy." And yeah, he just we never knew them prior to that, and he reached out and was like, "Hey, I want to get into management. I've heard about you guys. I love what you guys are doing." And that was the first time we were like, maybe we actually do this. This is cool.
Yeah.
Like, we never took it serious until that like text. And by means too, I'm getting the text like in the back of an SUV, and I'm like holding the drums and like, the drum stands, and I'm like texting them like Sony Ericsson T9. I'm like, oh, he just hit me up. This is crazy. Yeah, so he sort of introduced us to their team at the time. And if anybody ever looks at that stuff, we had like mirrored teams. So they pretty much followed what Chris was saying, was like, hey, yeah, we'll check them out. Got us into Rise. And then our whole thing, so we actually got, before the Rise contract came in, we like, Chris sort of helped us on MySpace and like helped us do some song, like clean up our songs. And then we did that swing cover, and so we met Chris, the swing cover happened, and then we went viral on accident. Yeah. So that was like an accident that happened. We were like big locally, but globally the swing thing changed us overnight, which really interested a lot of people. And so a few labels hit us up, but the biggest thing was this is like the beginning of our senior year. And at the time, Attack got signed. They dropped out and toured. So they're like our homies, and we're like, oh, we don't want to drop out of school yet. Like our parents will kill us. We don't know if it's going to work. So we were like, we made a deal with Rise to finish the album while we're in school. So yeah, after school, we would like drive. So we lived in Troy, Ohio. We drive like an hour and a half to Joey's after school every day. We'd record, and we'd leave his house at like 4 a.m. and we'd take like sleeping shifts, go back to school. And we just did that for like a month.
That's so rad.
It was crazy. Yeah. And it was cool because the school was so excited for us to have a record deal that they would like let us sleep in class. They're like, as long as you show up so you don't get tired. So I would like be in English and like turn in my work. He's like, you can nap. And I'd just be in the back, like, or like working on a song. And it's funny because the album, and I tell you this, like, I think it's starting track 4. Like what everybody gets track list wise is what we did. Like I said, we didn't know what we were doing. That's just the order of what we recorded in the studio. We just hit print and like sent it out. Mm-hmm. But we only had 3 songs. So from song 4 to 10, we were like, what do we do? And we like wrote them in the studio. So that's where our structure sort of came in, because the first 3 songs are super chaotic, but those are from our demos. We're just like, we would record and we're like, okay, Joey, we have 20 days. And we don't have any more music.
What we gotta do?
So I had to figure this out. So we just wrote it with them, and yeah. Sorry, that's the whole circle, because it was sort of unprepared. And
well, I love hearing those kind of background stories, and I want to let Lucian ask a couple of questions, but I do want to say before we move on, in 2009, I was been saving this until I got you here. One of my good friends that I was hanging out with at that time, his dad took a job in Cleveland, and so he went and obviously had to transfer high schools and do all that stuff. That would have been our like junior year, I think, in high school. But I end up getting a text from him, and it's again at the time where like this is kind of like the latter stage of LimeWire and that kind of shit. But like this is still before any of the tech that we have now. And I get a text from him. He's like, "Bro, I just got up to Ohio, and I gotta send you a demo or a mixtape. I gotta do," and you know where I'm going. I got a burned CD in the mail of your guys' first album. And I was like, these guys fucking rule. What is this? And so I just wanted to say like, hey man, like since the very beginning, it's really cool to hear how you guys came up. Cause I love that documentary style shit where I'm finding out how did this come about? But yeah, I want to let Lucian ask a couple of questions. I just wanted to say, man, that was even one of my friends at the time sent me a fucking burned CD, like a mixtape.
Dude, that's fucking wild. I didn't even know that. I've known this guy for like 15 years. I didn't even know that shit. Damn.
Yeah.
That's fucking
Shout out
crazy.
Corbin. Good dude.
Hell yeah. That's wild. Yeah. So I wanted to know, like, just flat out, like, so what's it like growing as a musician for that amount of time, having all these other ideas and then resurfacing back to what kind of got you there? But like with all this, because you know, you naturally get better. Everyone naturally gets better. You do something long enough, you're going to be way better than you were 10 years ago. So like, what was that feeling like to go back and kind of maybe put that skill level back into it?
The biggest thing I would say, it was a lot less painful. Like I was really hurting myself with the first time we did it, because like I said, we were probably playing 2 shows max a week. So I just was like burning myself up, screaming for like a month. So that was the first thing. And then like, honestly, dude, like on an emotional level, the coolest thing was like, we've been doing it so long to where we sort of forgot or like got jaded, and it like brought us back to like how it was when we were 16. Like it's like the best timing that it could have happened, because not that we were like burnt out, but it's like we've done this for so long. It's like, this is what we do, this is our job. And then like to go back and do this was like, oh yeah, like remember when we were like slamming Taco Bell and like just hanging out, and like this happened, and like it sort of has like re-sparked just excitement, which has been, not that, like I said, not that we weren't excited, I don't want him to get a bad vibe, but it's just been like a new, just like,
well, yeah, it's
16-year-old, like it's
exactly, it's nostalgia. You're feeling all those feelings you felt when you were younger, but as an adult, dude, that's a powerful experience. Like I'm sure that was pretty transforming for you guys. Like I can only imagine that. Like me and Dusty, we played in a band together in like 2011, and we played some pretty fun shows, and it was pretty short-lived. And then I just joined a band with him like a couple years ago, and I do get that feeling where I'm like, I feel like I'm like 19 years old with you on stage, and we're just being goof asses. You know what I mean? Like, whereas like everyone's taking it uber seriously and being all like, I gotta look cool. Me and him are like spitting on each other and fucking pushing each other, and like he'll jump off stage and like start playing bass in front of people, like just being a weirdo. Like, and it's like it brings me back to that moment. So like creatively, man, I can only imagine what it's like to have something that like defines who you are become updated, and not just updated, but added onto and made into this like just like ultimate experience for the nerds of your music. Like it's so cool. Like I'm a huge nerd, if you can't tell by the backdrop. I got weird shit all over the walls and stuff, but I love the collectability of music. Like, and I love when bands revisit stuff, but also like, did you just see Lamb of God dropped that the new Ashes of the Wake album?
Was it wasn't it featuring like Malevolent? Didn't they have like a band jump on?
Yeah, I think Kubla Khan was on there as well.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it looks crazy. So I'm just always looking out for stuff like that, and I haven't listened to it yet, so I can't say anything, but I'm a really big fan of reissued, re-released, updated, added to new features. Is there anyone you wish you could have gotten on this that you didn't?
Yeah, so like the reason I do vocals is because of Eddie from Suicide, Ultra Parish. And I asked him, like, he was like first on my list, because I was like, oh, he's why I do vocals. Like, I would love to have him on. And he wanted to do it, but his tour schedule with Ultra Parish reunions, it couldn't match up. So that's the one I'm just like, oh. And then one other weird one we had in the books, but then his schedule got messed up too, was this one's super outlier. Was Ryan Blaney, the NASCAR driver. He's like a homie of ours, and he used to be in a metal band. Him and Bubba, like Bubba plays drums, and they were in a metal band, and we were close with them before they were who they are now. And he was supposed to do it, but then his season just got so good, he got so busy that it just didn't line up. And I was like, because there were some weird ones in that I was like, oh, this would be so cool to mix it up.
That would be insane, but damn, I wish that would have been like, because I'm not the biggest NASCAR guy, but I'm very aware of who that is just from watching.
Could you put his name on it and then just in parentheses in all caps NASCAR? Like that would.
We were actually thinking like, well, how people are going to be like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah,
into the sport, yeah, because it's just such a normal name.
That's so funny, dude. I would have loved that. Like, hey, you never know, could happen in the future.
Oh yeah, it's in the talks. So he's the homie.
That's awesome, man.
So in terms of like your favorite music, what do you normally listen? It doesn't even have to be the same genre. What's on your mind right now, I guess, for music?
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, it's definitely went in phases.
Yeah.
I am for sure going to say I have drank the country Kool-Aid the last 2 years. Dude, I can't get enough of just pop, cheese, country, dude. It is.
My wife is slowly inkling that into my life, and as much as I want to fight it, there's been times where she's just up in the kitchen, like cooking something. I'm sitting there like,
I know the songwriting.
Yeah.
To me, it's like a pun, like because the songwriting is so good. There's like innuendos and double meanings, and then they'll bring it all together in the chorus. Like I'll literally hear a song on a playlist, pause it, and run down and show my wife. I'm like, listen, you don't know where it's going. You don't know where it's going. And the chorus, like, did that blow your fucking mind? You can't do that. Like I love that.
I think it's integral to be a great musician to be able to not only hone in on within the genre that you define, but also to be able to be well-rounded. Like, I mean, like you said, I mentioned, and this interview is not about me, but like making it about like bass playing. The reason I wanted to play bass was because of a lot of hip hop, just like how much the groove meant to bass playing and how much like styles like that allowed me to feel like it was a lot more a part of like the actual intricate part of it as opposed to just another guitar. And the same went for things like, I mean, I listen to like what I like to call Colorado reggae, you know, your revolutions and that kind of shit. But I love all that kind of stuff where the groove is just what carries you the entire time. And that happens so much in older music as well. But yeah, Lucian's in the, he's in the metal vein. It's got to have some sort of grit to it for him always, which I don't blame him. That's why we do the show.
Most of the time. I mean, here's the thing. It doesn't have to even be metal. Like, I think the most country I'll go is probably Clutch. And that's not country at all, but it's got that southern dirty, like talking some shit and saying some shit, and it's groovy and it goes back to a, you know, like that kind of like just feels
music too.
Yeah, it just feels southern.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. You need like this. You need to be smoking and playing pool and
working
like
on your car.
Yeah, something like that, or like, you know. It just makes me think of that kind of stuff, and that's what I kind of relate to more on that end. And don't get me wrong, we live in Nebraska, so there's country everywhere. Like, I grew up on country. I think Garth Brooks and Dunn was like what my dad preferred I listened to when I was like 7. But yeah, I can appreciate it. But I think to kind of piggyback on what Dustin was saying, like, I agree with you, Dustin, but it's also like you notice that the more you get into being a musician and the better you are at it and the more you experience, I guess, the more you start looking at other genres and being able to appreciate the artistry behind it. You're like, okay, well, I like just like Dustin was saying with hip hop, how he kind of that made him appreciate bass. Like, I feel like there's always something in every genre you can at least say, well, I like that about it. I may not like the song, it may not be my jam, but I can appreciate like the talent behind what went into making this what it is. And it's fun to kind of dip into different genres. I've been getting into like old like Quentin Tarantino soundtracks.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I love just vibing on it, and I try to collect a good vinyl collection for just like easy listening.
Well, and I guess you do have a pretty wide. Now that I'm really thinking about it, I'm not giving this guy enough credit. He does actually.
I love metal. Don't get me wrong. I'm wearing a fucking Death Clock shirt, but like, yeah, I think it's important to have your ear in multiple genres because it's also like a palate cleanser. Like, you cannot be in a band and play so heavily into a genre and not sometimes dip out of that genre.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like, if you look at my last 8 artists, they are all different genres. It's whatever I'm like you said, palate cleansing. I'm always just changing it because I'll just be like, I need to spice it up. But like, yeah. So, yeah, and appreciating other things too. Like, oh, sorry. The lyrics thing, it's like, that's what really I always hone in on. Like, because I love R&B and hip hop because like I think I just gravitate, even though, which is really funny, I don't like remember lyrics or pay attention. I like love the melodies and the idea of them. Like, I'm not downloading it. Like, I can sing a melody forever and I'm like, I don't know what the hell he was saying, but I'm like, this is how it went.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's making me jump around, I think, to so many different genres. It's just, and country and punk. I just got into punk for the first time in my life, which sounds weird, but it's like, because it's just stuff you can't sing about in metal, and it's just refreshing to listen to it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Maybe how can I twist this, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely, dude. I mean, that's cool. Like I said, punk is definitely it's like metal's little cousin. It's in a way it was around the same era when it came up. But yeah, it's definitely like you go to a show and you can see the punkers, and then you can also see the hardcore kids. You can see the metalheads. Like you can there's a differentiating, and I think that nowadays, obviously, as much as people like to gatekeep stuff, like it's honestly gotten a little bit easier. It's gotten a little everyone just wants to go see a good goddamn show, like no matter what it is. So.
Yeah. The gatekeeping definitely is fading away, which is cool. I'm like, kids will never know how tough it was.
Oh my God.
It's just like no fucking way, dude.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Oh my
shit.
God. I'm like traumatized by that. I think like being on stage and having some fuckers at some shows like that. Like I got like PTSD, and there's times where there's people on the stage or like off stage doing that, and I kind of tense up for a second, like.
No, you stare at them and you play harder and you make them.
You're like, oh God, who is this guy? And then you're like, all right, fuck it, let's be weird. That's great.
You guys have been going through, and you don't have to bring anything up by any means, but I just, everyone's been able to read the news. You guys have been going through a lot of changes, and besides adding Alicia as your guitarist, and obviously doesn't seem anything sour there. You guys also signed to Solid State Records along with like Devil Wears Prada. How has that been working with like a different record label and group? I mean, obviously on a very vague term, and just be like, well, it feels like anything else, but working directly with like a new group, has it changed things? Has it made it a little bit different in any way or shape or form for you guys?
Yeah, so the lineup change is crazy because it's the first lineup change ever in our careers.
That's something to be proud of as well, my man.
Yes, yeah. So we were fighting tooth and nail to keep it the OGs, but and like I said, or like you said, there's nothing sour. It was just like chapters and lives change.
You said y'all had kids and the pandemic happened and shit.
Yeah, post-pandemic rocked us. Everyone because it was just so long, everyone was doing different stuff, and it's just like when it got turned back on, it's like most of us didn't know if it was going to get turned back on. So it was just, it was all weird. And that's Elijah. He was in he did our first 2 tours back as like a fill-in. So that's sort of how we introduced.
Oh, okay.
Because we were still deciding what was going to happen, and the same time was our contracts were up with Sharptone. So it all sort of happened like the stars aligned, like everything was finishing, and then there was a possibility for a new chapter, and it was just like, how do we navigate through that? And then for Solid State, Sharptone's awesome. I still I do web development, and I still do all the still work with Sharptone, and love those guys. It's just we like to spice things up, and we've done, especially being in the band so long, like things just get like stagnant. Not saying any teams don't have new creative ideas, but it's just like we like changing the labels when contracts are up, because it's like we could take what we've learned from the previous label, implement it here, and then learn what they like to do, and then it just adds to the mix. And it's refreshing for our fans because they're going to get presented the same package in a different way. So it's and Solid State's been really cool. The reason we really wanted to go with them was we were talking to other labels. The hardest, and it's funny because they have like some weak, what's Jeremy DePoister? He calls it the retirement home for metalcore. But the cool thing is they understood where we are in our lives right now, and that's just a hard thing as like at the end of the day, it's like the label's selling a product, we're the product. So like you want that to work as hard as it can, but because we're dads and we've done it so long, we're like, hey, we will do it, but we got to like chill a little bit. We can't be 2015 Miss May I always 10 months a year. And that was a hard conversation to have with a lot of people, like a lot of our team, and the coolest people though, Solid State, were just like, yo, we understand, do what you guys want to do. Like us doing the Miss May I space and doing like all this stuff was us just like, it's sort of the 16-year-old like guerrilla marketing mentality again. Like we don't really have to answer to anybody. They're just like, they trust us, and we've done it so long, where that's just been really nice and refreshing. So I think that has a lot to do with the success of this re-release too, is like, if you guys want to do this, like do it. But like there's always been reins and chains of command, and this one's nice because they just trust us, and they're like, just do what you want to do. And I feel like it was yesterday, we broke our first 1 million a month on Spotify ever.
Yeah. Congrats, man. I saw that and I was like, holy shit, we're back in a force.
I know, that's never happened. Even like when Shadows came out, and like when covers of magazines prior, all this like big stuff has happened. It's been cool, but like we're always like following these plans, and the new plan is just like we get the wheel back, and we're just like, let's see what happens. So, and it's cool too because there's not so much riding on the band to where we're so stressed. We've like sort of established our name, so now we're just like, how much fun can we have with it? Because like if you don't know who we are by now, there's no way you missed us at a show, because we played with every band you can imagine, every festival. So we're like, now let's have fun with what we've created. And yeah, it's been, and it comes with what we were saying earlier, at the same time, the spark of feeling 16 again and playing these songs is at the same time. So we're just like, it's the most I've ever texted the guys in my life. Like we're sending memes and texting like every day, where it used to just be like someone I worked with, because we've done it so much for so long. Now it's just like fart jokes and memes, and that's what it used to be. So.
As it should be, maybe. As
it should be, exactly. Like it's just, you do it so long. It's like that's the forever thing of like, you love something and do it so much to where it feels like work. It's like, that's sort of what happened over 15 years, was like, we love this, but then you're starting to answer these emails and deal memos and merch orders, and it's just like, when it happens every day, you're like, it doesn't feel like, you're like checking spreadsheets. You're like, what? I thought we were just playing show. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. So, yeah.
But it's fun that you guys got to come back to that. And I think, you've built up this reputation throughout the years, and you've built this brand that so many people have loved and so many people have followed. To come back and to have like, I don't want to call it a reunion, because it's really not. It's a reawakening or a rebirth, I guess you could say, of the band on your own terms. Like, I feel like that's pretty rare, and like that's a really cool experience for you guys. I'm excited to see what you guys do, like, to be honest. And like Dusty said, you guys are about to hit the road. Like, I bet that's fucking exciting.
Oh, dude, yeah. And we're changing the product, like how we're approaching shows is different, so I'm excited for people to see us on this one, because we've never approached a show like this. So yeah, it's gonna be, that was something else too. We're like, hey, we've played, I think 2018 we broke our 1,000th show on tour. So we've done so many shows. We're just like, now for the first time, we're like, hey, what if we, like, it's like a playbook, like, what if we do this, like, this will blow people's mind. Because now we see people that are like, this is my 42nd time seeing you. And I'm like, oh my God.
Holy crap.
Yeah, like, oh, okay, here we go. Like, let's change it up. So
that changes the pressure a little bit to be like, oh, fuck. I mean, like, because, well, let's be honest. There's only so many things you can do unless you're like Rammstein, who's like absolutely putting on a circus show. But like, if you want to be more musical focused, like you guys definitely are, and just trying to put on the best goddamn heavy metal show that can be out there. It's very cool to hear that you are still, and now even more so, feeling the spark to be completely creative and having that pressure off of you, just to be like, listen, we're going to make songs, we're going to make albums, we're going to re-release stuff. We know where we're at with our label. Now it's about going out there and establishing ourselves back on like the basically nationwide scene to be able to push ourselves to the next level. That's honestly really refreshing to hear. It sounds exciting, man.
And like I said, yeah, I'm happy you guys feel that way, because that's how we feel. I can't wait for everyone to hear there's new stuff too in the works. Like there's a lot of cool stuff. So we've been busy.
Another thing, like, again, this is easy to find. So I'm not did the deepest digging by any means, but what I like that you guys said, there's a quote here that's just, it says, you're trying to be as old school as possible, and it's been working out. So we're happy with that. And, in this day and age, obviously, and I'm being very choice because I've gotten some hate mail where, some people just go completely digital. They're playing Line 6 Helix. Some people are still lugging Ampeg, like bass amps up a stair set. Anywhere in between, a lot of people, obviously, you have to have in-ears when you're playing stadium shows, and it'd be weird. It'd be weird though to have like a click track for jazz. Like that's not a thing. So saying like as old school as you are, how has that kind of worked yourself into kind of where you're at now? Whereas, because yeah, like I have one band that does have like a click track for our drummer, and we have some sound samples, and not only we have a pad, we have tracks that like allow some like orchestral shit, but everything's being played live. Whereas one of the other ones that I'm in, like it's Bogner amps on a stage with wedges in front of us. Let's go play this, and every show's gonna be a little bit different. I haven't played a stadium as large as you guys have, so that's what I was saying, is imagining like that you have to have some sort of technical gear, but being as old school as possible, I still think that it seems like you guys are kind of staying in that vein and want to stay true to that. Has that become something that you really want to put into these live shows?
Yeah. So I think the context a lot for that quote was So I would say, Elijah, we're the most techie we've ever been, like gear wise, which is great because like the future is now and there's some crazy shit that we could do now, which is awesome. But I think our old schoolness is coming from, and this is, anyone can look at our discography and point the songs that were these experiments of like, and I think coming from the MySpace era, we sort of have some PTSD from this, but of like doing things because of fads as opposed to what we like to do and what we grew up listening to and why we're in a band. That's our big old school thing. And the same thing comes with shows. It's like, we know what sells, what's cool. And like, there's an equation for that. And we've went down those roads, but there's also the roads of like, you have to play this every night. You have to talk about the song. Like, do you want to go down these fads thing and live with this forever? Or do you want to like do what you love and be like very proud of that? You're just like, I love this. And that's where our old school mentality really comes from, is just like, and that's why I think our band has sort of stayed in the same sound. Like I said, if you look at a zoomed out view, you could definitely pick our, some marketing tricks we tried to be like, this is our segue into like this radio thing or this like slow song thing. And like, because we had these outside forces sort of like just messing with stuff, which is fine. Like we all agreed to it, but we also had to stand on stage for an hour and a half and not like doing that and not feeling like ourselves. And that doesn't feel good in your own skin, like doing interviews and not feeling like doing something that wasn't. And then you have fans that have your logo tattooed and then they're asking you like, this isn't really you guys. I'm just like, oh fuck. Like I know I'm trying. And then I think we went through that so many times to where we're now like, dude, like we know what we want to do. And like, let's just trust that the fans like it. And that's been the best because that's been working the best for us, which is funny because all these money and high ups and people with credentials will say something else. And you're just like, yeah, but, and it always goes down to if it's real, they will feel. It's like, you see these bands that just, like, and now I see through that. I feel like when I listen to music, I'm like, I can tell because I've just had so many of those conversations. I'm like, and I appreciate bands that I'm like, oh, they're doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
This album.
I think that there's plenty of bands that obviously, you know, like if you're like, I mean, using a big example, like the Foo Fighters, like Dave Grohl still like, he doesn't care if he's playing an arena. He's going to sit up there and put his foot on a wedge and he's going to have that sound, his voice coming out of that directly at him because he knows that's going to be the most authentic thing to himself. And, you know, I think there's an in-between where obviously at a certain level, if you're starting up in this day and age, it would make sense to do what is the most not necessarily attractive, but yeah. And then also to be able to hone your sound around a thing that allow you to innovate. But I think the innovation is obviously the name of the game. And like that quote you just said was great. If it's real, they'll feel it. And like, that's why when we first started this interview and I was like, dude, from the first pop, the drums, the actual just like production value of this thing, granted, yeah, that's 15 years of technology moving forward. But I think that you guys have innovated in a way that still kind of stays really true to what it's supposed to be while still giving a modern feel to it. I think that's really cool, man. Like you guys obviously have the good head on your shoulders to do exactly what you're going to do to make sure it's the best live show and the best album quality stuff you can possibly give out.
Yeah. That was our, that's been another thing too, is cause I feel like we've worked with everyone possible that you could like a dream board. And that's been funny too, cause we've sort of stripped away and just worked with our core team on this. Did it ourselves. Like Elijah tracked it all. Like, it's a very DIY sort of thing, and it's
that rules.
It's cool, yeah. Well, we never do that. We usually hire an Airbnb and have these assistants and have a big freaking studio, like, which is cool. But like, we went into this one, and Elijah's like, "I got a studio." We're like, "Fuck it, let's go to your studio, dude." We just like went to his house, did it, and we're like, "This is awesome." So, well, not his house. I undertalk that. He has a build, like he has his own thing going. But went to his studio, and it was just where we always would be like, you look at the top 10 of like, who was the best last year? Like, who can we call? Blah, 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 and pull favors and get into these huge studios, which obviously that's a fun route too. But to just sort of strip it down and again, it's awesome. So I appreciate you guys liking it. Like, I've never been so thankful. Like, I did not expect this. I expected like people to be excited, but like, it's seriously like, I go to the coffee shop and go grocery shopping and there's someone's like, fucking re-release. I'm like, what the hell are you? I'm like, thanks, dude. Like,
yeah, man.
I would have thought so.
Dude, it's just crazy to see where you guys have come. you know, and like how things have come full circle, but they've become so much more like just enriched with your experience and like who you guys are new different people now. You know, you're never going to be that same person that you were back then in high school, but you're always going to have like influences and styles and just things that you carry with you throughout the time that get added into everything else. And I don't know, it's just fun. It's like I feel like this is a weird comparison, but it's like when a dad feels like he's watched his kid grow up. You know what I mean? It's like I remember being a kid and listening to your music, and now I'm like moving into my first house with my wife and still listening to your music. You know, like it's just fucking wild. Like I'm so happy for you, Levi. I'm so happy for the band. Like, and honestly, hats off. As a vocalist, your vocals have only gotten better.
Inspired a lot of people, man.
Yeah, like I've gotten back into doing vocals in the last 2 years, and I was listening to your stuff like well before this re-release, and then starting to listen to the re-release, I was just like, what happened to this man? Like what happened? What did you do? Like I want to know your secrets, bro. Like it's just crazy. Like
a cool little vocalist back story of this re-recording. The guy who works with the studio, his name's Jack Daniels, which is funny. That's his real name, though.
That's awesome.
Like he has this mic, and I'm gonna totally ruin Neiman or whatever. It's just, but it's a handheld. Okay, so it's not big, crazy, suspended like tube studio mic. It's just handheld. And I walk in there the first day, and I was like, never worked with this guy. I'm like, what the fuck what is he doing right now? Like, it was just like so stripped down with a pop filter, and like it was just a handheld mic. I'm like, whatever, like I'll try it. And I do a take, and it was like so wet sounding. Like, what the hell is this? He's like, I bought this mic from Tim Lambesis when like he went away, and he's like, he did Sound of Truth. He did all the albums on this. He's like, this is like my favorite mic for screen vocals. And I was just like, this mic? I'm like, I fucking love that. So now I'm like, every time I unbox it, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, this is so sick. But it's like the cricket from Men in Black. It's so unassuming. You like look at it and you're like, there's no way. You're like,
I think it's like a Newman is what I'm looking at. That's kind of giggly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing it just looks like a little speaker box or something.
Dude,
it looks like an SM58, and it sounds insane.
That's like a holy relic. Like, hold on to that. Tell him to hold on to that thing.
It's all chipped up. The paint, it's all dented. Like, dude, it looks like you found. And dude, when we got there, it was on the floor in the back of the studio. I'm like, "Where's that mic we used last time?" He's like, "Oh, it's in the back."
Over here.
And it was just like, yeah, on the floor. I'm like, "What are you like,
bro?"
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's things even on Sweetwater, which I got the hookup on Sweetwater, like we all do as musicians. That was not cheap.
Yeah,
those are pretty sick. I had like one more scheduled question in my head because I'm such a pro. You had obviously mentioned you all are dads, and I've seen that in a couple of things that if I may ask, how old are your kiddos now?
4 and 1.
wow. Damn.
You've mentioned you've brought them on tour with you.
Yes. Yeah.
That's cool.
Granted, this is their formative years. Like I have a couple memories when I'm like 4. So like, I guess I can't say like, you know, are they going to remember? But like, they probably won't. But like, how has this been for them? And how's it been for you?
My daughter, Jax, loves it. So she's coming out on the next tour on the weekends. And same with our drummer's daughter, Jagger, who she'll be 2. So Jax will be 4, but she came out when she was 2 for 6 weeks. So it's 6 weeks straight.
What a trooper.
Yeah, it was her and my wife. They're freaking. My wife has a music background too, so we like live for this.
Hell yeah.
But she, my daughter, she loves it. She thinks it's like our crew guy who's been our longest crew guy. His name's Hook, but he has this vest he wears. He's a hard ass, like spike vest, all this. And it says like sheriff. And he's always like, I'm the sheriff of stage, blah, blah, blah. And for like the first Christmas, he got her this vest. And it's all Miss May I patched out. And it says deputy. And it's got all these spikes. And she wears it. She just went to go see Green Day last week. And she like wears it everywhere. And she just loves, like, I hope she were like, it's funny you say the memory thing. Cause I know this next tour she'll remember more, but she just loved it. Like, and we'd bring her out on stage, for the certain part, and then she like would be nervous, and she totally got so jaded towards the end of the tour, because then like we got our harmonica, and she like, I'm like, this is my daughter, and the crowd's like cheering, and she can't hear anything, it's just loud, and she's like, blowing on this harmonica. It's the crowd, and like we get off stage, and I'm like soaked in sweat. She's like, Dad, they love my harmonica tonight. I'm
fucking out there.
Yeah, you just hear subs like, and she's just like blowing his heart. And then like fans, it was cool because just posting about her, like fans were so sweet to her. Like she got so many like just like little stuffies, and like people didn't want pictures of me. Like me and her would be getting lunch or at a park before the show, and they'd be like, Jax, and they'd be taking a picture with her, and I'm like, yeah, I'll be in the photo. I'm like trying to
yeah, you get out of here. This kid's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And then like we had it's funny because she made all the other guys, like, not that they're not softies, we're all like Midwest softies, but she made them super softies to where like they weren't kid guys. I won't say it's 100% us, but post that first tour is when Jared and his lady got pregnant, and they were like, we can't have kids. But like there was this one
look at that.
Ryan's like the hard ass guy in the band, and there was this one day we're coming come in, and my wife would put our daughter down halfway through our set, so I would like see them at the soundboard, wave, they'd like, because then we want her asleep by the time we got off stage. And she wasn't sleeping. I get on there, and Ryan's like soaked in sweat, and he's like, I had the bottom bunk, and he's like laying, and he's just like reading her a book like to sleep, and I'm like, but he's like it's so funny. I'm like, what? I'm like, you do like, there's a warm heart deep in there somewhere. Like,
yeah, dude,
sweetheart. So
no, that's awesome. I mean, like, honestly, there are so many people that are obviously just hard ass the entire time, and that is what it is. It's heavy metal, but also like deep down, bro. Like you said, we're in Omaha. We're all Midwest softies. Yeah. We're nice fellas. It's this hard exterior. So that's for the crowd. Everything else is, yeah, you got it. That's honestly, I do think that probably by the time you guys this next tour, I have some memories being like 4 or 5. That's around the kindergarten age when you start to remember shit. And I think obviously, hopefully this will inspire them to want to, well, I guess I'll put it this way. Would you even want them to do the same kind of thing? Or like, cause I mean, it's not as, you hear people in show business with like, Hollywood where they're like, yeah, I don't really want my kids in movies. Like this shit was so hard for me. Do you have the same aspirations for your kids? Do you think it'd be cool if they did this?
I think about it. I don't know. It would be nice. I think like if she had like a guidance, like it'd be nice if like, because she'll have me as a parent, but it's definitely not the easy road to take. So, but I would love her to do whatever she wants. I think the cool thing is to see like her seeing the possibilities, like thinking that's the coolest thing for us to watch our kids see is like, cause then now they all come to rehearsals and stuff, and we rehearse at like a big venue here. So like we turn everything on and it's all ours, and they like go up there and play. And it's just cool for them to be like, oh, this is a real thing. Now I take her to shows, it'll be like Danny Go or Coco Melon or something. She's like, can we go backstage? And I'm like, it's not that type of show. I'm like, we're not going backstage here, but like, cause we usually get hookups and go see friends.
Sure. Yeah.
She just knows that. She's like, where's my drink, and where's like my side stage spot, and like all that. Yeah. Like, it's not.
I need Fiji water and green M&Ms, Dad. What the fuck?
She's got a writer.
She's got some jadedness in her, but it's cool. That was the other thing too. To go back real quick, like that was a big stipulation for us to move forward as a band. Was we don't want to stop doing this, may I? And like if we were going to continue doing it, we had to make it work with family, and that was and it's cool now because it's a huge family. Now it's like strollers, and we go to the zoo, and like the cruise, like it's just a huge, same guys, just bigger family on tour. So, and that's what we want to keep going, because it sort of ends bands sometimes. You know what I mean? Like some guys.
Dude, that warms my heart to hear that. Like honestly, again, my hard exterior warms my cold little heart.
There we go,
man. But yeah, we're doing great on time and all of that. But Lucian, did you have like really anything else before we try and?
Honestly, I just wanted to ask if there was anything else you wanted our fans to know.
Yeah, I do. There will be new music for the new tour. Yes. For the tour coming up, so there'll be new music. We'll be playing some new music. A bunch of new stuff in the works, and yeah, next year is even crazier. So like we said early on this interview, like it's sort of a re-spark of just a lot of new stuff and a new chapter. So I'm so excited for everybody to see it.
Hell yeah, dude. Me too. It's going to be fucking awesome. You're making me more excited talking about it. Like, yes. I can't hold it in, but you're going to have to let us know if you ever come through Omaha. We'll come see you and bring you a pizza or something.
We love that.
Hell
Well, I'll
yeah.
definitely say before we roll out of here, please, everybody, go and listen. Well, first of all, apparently, stay tuned for some new music. Go check out the remastered, pump up those numbers for them. They're on tour all the way across the United States as I'm looking through this, from the Pacific Northwest down to Florida. If you're in our area, which is the basically Midwest local, Kansas City, Omaha area, you can catch them at Woolies in Des Moines on October 5th, which is honestly, it's a pretty fun venue. You guys will pack that place out and it'll feel real intimate in a good way. Like it can seat quite a few. We've played there. I've been there. I've seen great shows there. So have a great time there at Woolies, my man. But yeah, if you're anywhere in the U.S., you make a little trip because you can't miss them. It looks like they're everywhere. And stay tuned for new music. Levi, you are the goddamn man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And like I said, until next time, you guys stay metal, hang out. We love you. Peace.